Alright, so I just rolled credits on my July game of the month, Okamiden for the original Nintendo DS. Uh, I got a lot of things to say about it. Um, First of all, I said in the game of the month video that Okami is one of my favorite games ever, and it is. And this is like a I don't know, like a pseudo sequel to that game. It's not like Okami 2, but it's kind of like a side story. I don't know, but I love the original Okami. This game, oh man, I got mixed feelings about this. Nevertheless, it feels good to get a game out of my backlog. I've had this game for a long time, and I've only played like maybe like 5 hours into it, and I get distracted and start playing something else. But I finally finished it. It took me, I don't know the exact final time yet, between 19 and 20 hours. And that's just like flying through the game, like doing the main story. Like, there's really no side quests. Well, there's a few side quests in the game, but they're kind of collectathon type things. So I skipped most of them because the things you collect, they're pretty pointless. You get like these little pieces to these murals. They're just basically just collectibles just to add fluff to the game. There's a lot of fluff in this game. Um, so yeah, between 19 and 20 hours, that's really long for a DS game. Um, so really good length. I mean, obviously the most impressive thing about this game are the visuals and the soundtrack. Just incredible what they were able to do on the original Nintendo DS. Um, Now it does suffer. The frame rate does get really bad at times, which is kind of a detriment to the gameplay. It actually hurts the gameplay, but still, it's just incredible what they were able to do. Um, just shows that with like the right people, the right team, the right know-how, that people could do crazy things with the original Nintendo DS. But yeah, the soundtrack amazing, just like Okami. Um, my biggest gripe, honestly, is the last like several hours of the game. The game, in my opinion, is about 5 hours too long. It should have been like a 15-hour game. I know you're like, oh, you're complaining about a game being too long. I'm like, yeah, some games can be too long. They can overstay their welcome. And when you get to the end of the game and when you beat it, you're like, thank goodness that's finally over. That's not a good thing. And that's how I felt about this. When it was finally over, I was like, thank goodness this is finally over. Because it should have been over 3, 4, 5 hours prior. Um, there's a lot of fluff to it. There's a lot of cutscenes. I swear there's more cutscenes in this game than there are in the just Okami. Uh, a lot of cutscenes, a lot of dialogue, and that would be fine if I thought most of it was meaningful. But I just feel like a lot of it is just exposition, just kind of to be there. The characters are really good in the game. They're fairly memorable. You get multiple partners throughout the game. They all have kind of different abilities. They all kind of do different things. I don't even think it was Capcom that actually developed this. I think they were just the publisher. I think I'd read that some other company developed it. I'm not sure. But let's see the very end right here. Maybe they were a developer. I don't know. I have to Google it. See if there's any little scenes right after. And there's a little picture. See if it shows how long it took me to beat it. Do I have to press anything? No. Let's see what it does. Deaths. 6. 462 enemies. Yeah, also the money in the game. You get a lot of stuff to sell, and you get a lot of money. It's pretty much trivial. You're going to have plenty of money, and you're never going to run out of like resources or anything like that. The money, if you play this game, do not worry about money. You're going to have plenty of money. Battle results. There you go. 20 hours, 5 minutes and 25 seconds. That's my final time in the game. That's a long long Nintendo DS game right there. Um, Pretty impressive lengthwise for a game like this, a game that's not like an RPG. But yeah, anyway, um, I found a lot of the battles just out in the open world. They function exactly like they do in Okami. You see like this enemy, like this scroll, like floating around, and you interact with it, and it takes you into like kind of an arena, and you fight the enemies. But in this game, I found myself just avoiding those. Between like the frame rate getting bad during battles, it just chugs, and I feel like a lot of the enemies in this game were like just bullet sponges, for lack of a better word. They took forever to kill. Like even the regular enemies, like for no reason, they just took forever to kill, which is part of the reason I say the game is just full of fluff. So anyway, my biggest gripe is the last several hours. Oh my god, like I was literally getting like almost pissed off. So there's like four main bosses in the game before you get to like the final boss, which is a whole other thing in itself. So you fight the four main bosses throughout the game, and they're a slog. Like they take forever. Their health bars are huge. You hardly do any damage, and they're tedious as hell. So okay, you fight some tedious bosses, whatever. But no, that's not it. When you get to the game, into the game, you have to fight the same bosses again, and there's really no difference in any of them. Same, long health bar, take forever to fight. And it's like the development team, they ran out of ideas. They're like, oh, let's instead of coming up with some new bosses to fight here at the end of the game, no, let's just throw the same ones at you that you did before, the exact same ones. I hate that. I hate that kind of thing. It's so lazy to me and like uncreative. I hate it when games do that. It's basically like a boss gauntlet at the end, and they're not particularly hard. If you know how to beat them, then they're pretty simple, but they just take so long. It feels like they take so long to beat. And the fact that you've already done it once, it makes it seem even longer. There's long health bars. And unless I'm just horrible at the game, just do minimal amounts of damage. And then you sit through a ton of cutscenes again between all of this, and you get to the final boss, and the final boss has the final boss has two phases, and the guy before him has one phase. So you're basically fighting three final bosses in the game, and all three of them are equally annoying. Again, the trend with the long health bars continues. The trend with the hardly feeling like you're doing any damage continues. The frame rate chugs. It's just it. The best way I can describe the last several hours of the game, it's just a slog. It's an absolute slog, and I hate to say that because for the most part I enjoyed the game up until like the last quarter, the last 25% of it. Just I was so ready for it to be over because I was just going through the motions at that point. I was like, okay, the cutscenes are too long. There's too much exposition, pointless exposition. It's like, let's go. And then you get to the end and you're like, oh, I got to fight these bosses that I already fought again. And at that point, I was just like done. So, yeah, I'm glad I played through the game. I'm going to go ahead and keep it in my collection. Like I said earlier in this video, it feels good to get a game out of the backlog that I've wanted to for years and years. It's just sat over there on my shelf, and I'm like, I'm going to play it one day. I finally just was dedicated myself. It took me an entire month to beat this game. I started playing this on July 1st, and it's July 31st, and I beat it tonight. It took me a month. I didn't play every day, but just between work, having a family, having a 4.5-year-old kid, you just don't get a lot of time. So I played it when I could. This is pretty much strictly the only game I played all month. So that's about how long it takes me to beat a 20-hour game nowadays, is almost an entire month. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm going to try to cut this off. It's almost at 10 minutes. I give, like, if I'm giving this game a score 1 to 10, 10 being the best, I feel like Unfortunately, because of the very end of it and just feeling like a slog and just wanting to just get it over with, I'm gonna probably just give it like a 6.5 or a 7. A 7 feels fair. The soundtrack and the creative gameplay and the visuals do a heavy lift for everything else. Um, I was hoping I would just absolutely love this game at the end because I love Okami, but no, I can safely say I will probably never play this game ever again and have no desire to ever play it again, because it felt like such a slog so often. Whereas Okami, I've played that game multiple times in different iterations on PS2, played it on the Wii. I've played it the remastered version, which is the one I own on the Xbox One, and I've played each of those versions multiple times. So I know that game really well. But this game, I don't think I'll ever play this again. I hate to say that, but yeah. I'm like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and keep it in my collection. But yeah, that's it. So glad to get out of my backlog and on to the next. All right, thanks for watching.